Hello.
Well,
How are you today, Joe? We are here with Joe Turiano. We are talking about our conference conversations today. And I am Linda Thunberg. I am the CEO of NATH, the National Association of Transpersonal Hypnotherapists. And once again, I have Joe Turiano here with me, who is doing two presentations for our conference coming up in November 10th through the 12th, just in case you haven't seen. Joe is going to be talking about the psychology of addiction and also family constellations. But before we begin, you've been with NAS for quite a while. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself and what got you into transpersonal hypnotherapy, real quick?
okay, yes. Actually I went through NATH to get my hypnotherapy qualification in 2008. I was Dr. Alan Chips, who you well know. And I've been practicing in some capacity since 2005 as a therapist. And I have a kind of a varied background in terms of different trainings that I've taken and different studies that I've gone through in terms of, studying psychology, studying basically what I like to focus on. And this is kind of the way my practice goes. I am a practicing clinical hypnotherapist. What I like to focus on are the hidden factors in people's lives, hidden aspects of their psychology. So I often do past life regressions, and I often bring out things relating to childhood and things of this nature that affect people in certain ways that they're not necessarily aware of. So as you well know, when somebody has a past life of some kind, they have certain subconscious memories that pattern, their actions and their thoughts and their identity, really. And the same in childhood is the same. So when people are made aware of these things through hypnosis, through recalling certain memories, and through hopefully the guidance of a therapist, then they, first of all, they have knowledge of a certain kind that they can use in order to think about what it is that they do. And second thing is it creates a kind of healing effect also, as you well know, where there are certain shifts that can be made on an energetic level and an emotional level, and it can help people to change long-standing patterns in their behavior or their feeling or even their identity. And that's what I like to do for them. That's what I try to make the focus of the practice, that I do have. And I've found that to be quite an interesting kind of thing to focus on. I've learned a lot over the course of time. I've had some good teachers, and it's good work, and I like to pass it on. I like to help people, get a certain kind of a grasp of these things as well. Um, of course, as you well know, there are a lot of hypnotherapists or hypnotists who just kind of specialize more in having people listen to a certain script any number of times in order to help them quit smoking and whatnot. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I do like to do work on a kind of a deeper level. That's just kind of what I'm drawn to, and I enjoy being able to pass that on to people in various ways.
Mm-hmm. And is that why you took an interest in transpersonal hypnotherapy rather than just
I would say, yes, definitely. I as you know, and we've talked many times, you know me well, but maybe some of the other people out there don't know. I got a lot of what might be called paranormal experiences and psychic experiences, and that's a word that people use, and it's something that people perceive in a certain way, but it's really a part of all of us. It's something that we all are. It's a tool, and it's a source of knowledge that we all have, and it's perceived a certain way, but I like to help people understand how they can use their intuitive gifts in a better way, and even a rational way. I don't think there's a necessary conflict between being rational and being what people call psychic. I think that we can all expand our minds in a certain way and have intuition, have guidance, have insight, have knowledge about why we're here. Because I do believe, as I'm sure you know, and transpersonal hypnotherapy brings out, we're here for a reason. So I like people to find out more about what that reason is. I like to help people understand more, about what their life is about. And of course, I've always wanted to know about these things in my own regard. I think it helps us all out. So that's one of the reasons why I want to help other people out in terms of figuring these things out. Because if we know why we're here, and we know what the purpose of this experience that we call life is, and it helps us get through what we have to get through, challenging experiences, which we're all going to undergo, and all sorts of other things that we're going to see. Just helps us understand what it all means, hopefully.
Absolutely. Body, mind, and spirit. And our conference theme this year is universal alignment, bringing that body, mind, and spirit into alignment. How will your two presentations that you're doing about the psychology of addiction and family constellations, kind of what will that bring to participants that are coming to your presentations? What will they learn from each of those?
All right. Well, the psychology of addiction. I think there are some aspects of it that a lot of people probably aren't familiar with, maybe even clinicians. Um, and some of what I'm going to say is some people might actually call it somewhat controversial in the field of psychology. Some people might not agree with all the things that I have to say in there, but I will try to cite all my sources, try to back up what I'm saying with certain forms of evidence. But the idea is and when it comes to alignment in the field of addiction, if you're going to be treating people, and I do talk about, people come to a hypnotherapist for weight loss. People come to a hypnotherapist for smoking cessation, and they also come for problems with alcohol, other substances. So if you can align certain clients with certain types of memories, certain insights about why certain things may have happened in their childhood experience or other life experience. But in this, I'm going to focus on more present life experience in this presentation more than anything. If you can align them with that knowledge, if you can align them with an understanding, if you can align them with a certain form of healing, then you can help to create a certain kind of psychological and energy shift. And that's the idea, to help people, in people who are clinicians, to get certain forms of insight and how they can do that for their clients, how they can bring that about. I mean, like I was saying before, it's one thing to have people, give them a script and just kind of let them listen to it any number of times. But if you bring out certain other things, particularly childhood traumas, you help them get a grasp of that and understand how these things have affected them, then you can help them see why they've been doing what they've been doing and also create a certain healing effect. So that's what I want to help people to get a handle on.
Will they be able to come out of your presentations and get a little better idea of how to handle some of their clients?
That's the idea, yes, to help them see what to look for, to help them understand, and I'll give them because if you ask clients the right type of questions, then you can get the right kind of answers in terms of understanding what their experience is, and particularly the traumatic effects and things that have affected them in a certain way. And as I mentioned, some people may not, see the connection, but there are certain patternable things that you can see in terms of a lot of people's lives. For example, this is pretty much pervasive in modern society. Let's say if somebody comes in and they tell you they grew up without a father, then that right away is going to incline you towards looking for addictive type behaviors and things of that nature. And a cause, it's really a strong factor in many addictive situations.
Mm-hmm.
And it tends to be one of the most powerful predominant factors. And there's a certain kind of trauma that occurs in association with that. And if you know that, you understand that, you know how to look for it, and you know how to focus the client on that, help them have some insights in terms of how that's affected them, and also create a kind of healing effect, in the hypnosis itself based on that, then you can do something somewhat different from what you might do if you're just going to do the basic standard script, kind of like I said. So.
That sounds exciting. I'd like to come into your presentation. I'm sure lots of other people would too. Tell me just
Oh yeah, come on in.
tell me just a tiny bit about your family constellations.
Okay, family constellation. Where I think you've mentioned, you've seen it. Some other people have in a certain limited way, and if you haven't seen it, it is a kind of fairly recent, and I would call it an innovative modality. It's a healing modality. It does relate somewhat to traditional psychotherapy, but it's an energetic type of healing modality in which people connect with, and there are certain two forms of trauma essentially and usually it is trauma related, and it's either generational trauma or often childhood trauma. And in certain other occasions, it may relate somewhat to adult trauma, but those are the other two are the ones that are most often seen. And I'm going to explain again certain patterns, certain classic patterns that you will see, and then to some degree you're going to see in a lot of different clients in a lot of different ways, where if there are certain patternings that have taken place in childhood, then there are going to be certain traumatic effects in people's lives. And then again, there are certain ways to address these things, and you can work that into hypnosis, which is what I like to do. Now, as I do mention in the presentation, there's a way to do this work in a group setting, and that often is how it's done. You may have seen it that way, but you can also work it into your practice on a kind of one-to-one basis, and you can work it into hypnosis. I find myself doing that quite a bit, and I do find myself, as I think I mentioned in my video for the presentation, that sometimes I get people who are seeing other therapists, and they'll come in and say, well, I feel like I'm spinning my wheel. I'm not really learning anything new, or we're not covering anything different. I try to bring out something that they haven't seen before in a way they haven't seen, and give them a different kind of an insight. And that's really the whole basis of the philosophy behind family constellation therapy. It's to create, to some extent through images, but just also through knowledge, to create a different picture of what it is that goes on for people and what's gone on in their lives, and help them see themselves in a different way, and then create a kind of a shift. That's the idea, to create a shift inside of them based not only on the learning, but also just connecting with things that may become buried, things psychologically, things of that nature, so that people can really find an avenue toward changing certain things, certain issues, certain challenges like anxiety, things of that nature, depression, also all sorts of different issues, even physical issues, even issues with health, things of that nature.
Well, that sounds exciting, and I'm looking forward to learning more about that as well, one-on-one with clients. So all of you who would like to see Joe, Sunday is Joe's big day. He's speaking twice on Sunday at our conference, and the Psychology of Addiction will be Sunday at 10 a.m. and the Family Constellations will be Sunday at 2 p.m. So come to, what do you like best about the NATH conferences? I know you're a board member and you've been there a number of years. What do you like? Just one thing you like the best about our conferences?
Well, I'd like to be able to network with people of a similar thought process who could share these things. I mean, you know that, and like I say, I often focus on things that most people don't talk about, the spiritual aspects of life, things of this nature. So I do like to be around people who understand these things, people who can talk about them, people who have an exchange about them. And you don't necessarily see that all the time, when you're out there just walking around doing what you do in day-to-day life. So it's an interesting and I think a rewarding experience to be able to do that amongst people, with this thought process. So I wanted to invite you all, if you want to, if you have any questions, you just want to bounce off me or whatever, just anybody else as well. But I feel like I've had, a number of experiences, like I said, spiritual experiences, and I've tried to study these things. I've tried to get to the point where I know a little bit about them. So anybody wants to, run some questions by me or whatever, invite them to, just ask what it is they have to ask. And I don't have all the answers, but hopefully I have something I can share in terms of, something that would help you out in understanding something you may have experienced, or something of this nature that may be a spiritual experience of some kind, something like that.
Absolutely. I think that's what does make the NATH conference different, is that we're not so large that you can't talk to the presenters, or that you can't sit down and have a cup of coffee or lunch or whatever and just have a conversation about maybe some of your experiences or what they've learned through life, So
Yeah, and
awesome.
I'm sure I don't know all the people who are there or been there, but anybody wants to just come up to me, come on up.
They're
We'll have a
very
conversation.
personal. And I
hope
must
you do.
include, Joe is also involved in our NATH karaoke on Saturday night. You will see a different side of Joe then. So
Yeah,
join
I want
us
to invite
there.
other people to participate also. I mean, if you're ever interested in, performing, singing a little song, doing whatever, but it's also an opportunity just to hang out, kind of have fun,
Just fun.
network, have a little light conversation, that all those sorts of things. And hey, I'll say it again later. I'll post another video hopefully. But if any of y'all want to be backed up by singing, whatever, I can help you out with that. You haven't done it before. It's at least makes you a little nervous at first. When I first did it, I was a little bit, I don't know, I want to sing in front of people. But yeah, I'll back you up, and I'll practice too. So hopefully
There you go. Well, you
hopefully I
practice
sing all right.
until November.
I didn't practice last year, but I'm gonna practice this
And
year.
he did great last year. So
Well,
it was fun.
it wasn't.
Anyway,
It
thank you
wasn't.
for being with
It was.
us, Joe. And
But
we will see you in November. Okay.
all right, thanks, Linda.
Thank you. Bye now.
See y'all. Thanks.